Aim for today is to upgrade the calipers to 4-pot pistons from LS400, as this conversion is more budget friendly. If you don't want to damage your sill, this is the best way I found for jacking up the car. And then where you see that little arrow, that's where you can place your jack stand. So the main aim to upgrade to 4 ports is to help with the stopping power, because the Jap spec calipers are quite rubbish. They don't have as much, like when you brake it feels like it can be more of a sliding than actually braking. So this is like an example of how the 2 ports stock JDM calipers looks like. They've been down the car for quite a while. To remove this is a quite simple process. There's 4 bolts to be removed, and you'll see me struggling with actually removing the main bolts for the bracket, for the caliper brackets. So the simple as wiggle wiggle and comes off, pads to be removed. Yeah, and this is what happens when you're weak and when you don't go gym. I think those bolts were never removed in my Supra. To get access to the top bolts with the impact gun is actually quite difficult, so be smart, use the jack, and let's hope the bolts won't snap. Yeah. So this is the LS400 brake discs and calipers from 98 VVTi model. You can see the discs are slightly bigger than stock JDM Supra ones, which possibly means more stopping power. But the bolt pattern and the whole stuff matches quite well. And then yeah, I've picked up those discs a long time ago, and then they've been sitting in the garage for a while, so it became a little bit rusty, but that's not really a problem. So here's an example when the LS calipers are bolted onto a Supra. So the bolt pattern is the same. You have to move the actual heat shield a little bit, because it's a little bit different. So I would strongly recommend to try to actually fit those calipers or bolt the calipers on before you try to put the discs, to do like a test fitment, because you're gonna have to push the actual heat shields slightly away. As you can see, they're kind of colliding with each other. A little bit difference between the bolts, pretty much the same stuff really. Yeah, make sure you always clean the actual surface on your hub before you place the actual discs, because then you may have a little bit of interference, or the disc wouldn't sit flat against the actual hub. And then yeah, my disc will never change for quite a while. You can see the actual bolt pattern comes on, so you have to adjust the heat shields as well because of the disc size. So I think maybe if you could get the heat shields from the UK spec, that would work quite well, but because we're doing this on the budget, we're just gonna stay with the JDM stuff, the good sauce. And then yeah, just bolt on the actual calipers and pop it your ankle. Once you get your discs on, just double check if you've got the clearance, but make sure you push the disc all the way back and then check for the actual clearance. So in my case it's all good. And look how tight the actual fitment is. Precision work. I really like the way how you can change the pads without actually unbolting the calipers. Another thing that you're gonna find, the JDM nut with the hole for the oil, it doesn't have the lock-in pin in the same location as the Lexus ones. The bolts seems to be the same, so you're gonna have to improvise a little bit, because the lock-in pin on the nut is not in the same location. I mean, the distance is a little bit off, which it wouldn't allow you to actually try to lock the actual lines correctly. But then if you look at here in the video, if you try to lock your holes the same way as what we've got here, so more likely the holes will be rubbing against the wheel, and it could create a failure over the time. I'll be adjusting the holes to actually make sure it's properly laid. And then the way how you tight your bolts is the German way. Good and tight. I've done this for some time, so I kind of get the feel for how much torque I should apply. But then it's very important to make sure you've got your copper washers fitted, because that's what crumbles and that's what stops from any oil leaks. If you don't feel comfortable doing this, I would recommend to try to ask like a mechanic or shop to do it for you. Because don't forget, this is to do with your safety, and the safety is first. So say for example, if you drive on the road and your brake fails or stuff like that, it could end up quite badly. So there's me adjusting the actual holes to be pointing down, but now you can really see the actual nut and the lock-in pin on the nut. It doesn't align, so that it may be a little bit problematic in the later stage if it gets a little bit stuck. But then you could try to use an impact gun in the future to undo the bolt if it gets stuck. Yep, good and tight. When it comes to bleeding the brakes, I would recommend to bleed the front brakes first and then bleed the whole system as you would normally do, including fronts again, because that's how you'd remove like majority of the air. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. As they say, don't forget to leave like, sub and comment.